Well, hello, everybody out there in internet land. Dr. Brad Nelson here. I wanted to do a question and answer session for all of you today on whatever channel you might be on. And a couple of questions that I want to answer right off the bat here for all of you as people are coming in and listening. And you can ask questions, and I'll be able to see those in the chat and try to answer those for you. First of all, I want to let you know we have a special event coming up, and that is coming up here really soon. It is an emotion code seminar. It's going to be held in Las Vegas at the Plaza Hotel in Las Vegas, and that's November 19th and 20th. You can visit discoverhealing.com/events to sign up for this. Now, this is a very unusual seminar because what we're doing is we're taking the emotion code seminar, we're splitting it up over 2 days. And when we're not doing the emotion code seminar, we're going to be playing pickleball. So if you've never played pickleball before, you can come and you can learn at this event. I've been playing it for about 6 months now, my wife Jean and I, and it's just really so much fun. It's great. You can play it if you're really young. You can play it if you're really old. It's a lot of fun. It's easy. It can be challenging if you want it to be. It's kind of like playing ping pong on a court that's almost the size of a tennis court. Really, really kind of fun. So hello to Husne and Vanessa and Mandy. Mandy says, I have many great pickleball memories from high school gym class. Yeah, pickleball is amazing. Husne says, hello from Melbourne. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Vanessa has a question. She says, I'd love to know how to feel confident in my muscle testing. Okay. Well, first of all, practice makes perfect, right? But there are a couple of mistakes that people commonly make, and I want to give you the answers to those right now. First of all, most people use way too much force when they're muscle testing, and I did this too. In fact, my fingers hurt for 7 years, just really embarrassing. But it's true because I was using too much force, and I finally realized, oh, if I back off on the amount of resistance I'm using to resist the testing, then I can back off on the amount of force that I'm applying too. And so it's an interesting thing. Remember that when you're muscle testing, what you're trying to do is you're trying to pick up that subtle change that's taking place in the body, right? When someone, if you ask, let's say you're working on somebody and you ask them a question and the answer coming back from their internal computer is yes, they will be strong. Okay. If the answer coming back from them is no, they'll be weak. If you test them and if you're, within about 6 or so feet of them, then we'd say you're using surrogate testing, and your body will be strong when they're strong or weak when they're weak. But to pick up those subtle changes is harder if you're using a lot of force, okay? You've got to back off on the amount of force you're using. And the amount of force that I use now, imagine that you're out in your backyard and you pick up a ladybug and you're going to take it out to the garden and let it go, and you're going to carry it out of your house. How much force would you use if you're holding it in between your fingerprints? Not much, right? You're just barely holding it there. That's about how much force I use now. So think about this. In fact, let's do this together. Make a ring and a ring. And I like to do it with my fingerprints together like this, so that instead of circles, they're actually like this. It doesn't matter either way though. And use about that much force. So hardly any force at all. And now repeat after me. Say yes, and think about that word, and then test. See if it wants to stay closed. And then say no, and think about that, and it should open for you. And sometimes people ask, well, will one open or the other open? I don't care. It doesn't matter. If it opens, that's all you're looking for. So that's one key thing in doing muscle testing, is especially self-testing. You don't want to overdo it with the force. Go very light. Now, another mistake that people commonly make is that they will they'll tend to focus on their fingers. So if you can, and we have lots of questions coming in, by the way. I'm going to try to get to all of these as fast as I can. But we want to answer Vanessa first. So the other mistake that people commonly make, and especially in self-testing, is they tend to focus on their fingers, right? Now, if you're a typist, if you can type, 60, 80 words a minute or anything like that, you know what happens. If you start thinking about what your fingers are doing, or you start watching your fingers, your speed immediately deteriorates and you start making all kinds of mistakes. When you're a touch typist, your fingers know what to do. Well, when you're doing muscle testing, your fingers also know what to do. And so you need to let them do it. So what you want to do, in other words, is when you're trying to get the answer on muscle testing, don't focus on your fingers. Instead, focus on the person maybe that you're working on, or focus on the question that is trying to be answered, right? And then allow that test to take place slightly out of your focus, okay? And I think those things will really help you. All right, so let's see here what we've got. Husname from Melbourne, hello. And Mandy says, oh yeah, I have many great pickleball memories from high school gym class. It is so fun. And again, remember what we're doing here is we have this emotion code seminar coming up with pickleball. We've never done this before. So this is going to be coming up in Las Vegas, November 19th and 20th. So you guys really, you need to come to this. It's going to be really so much fun. Pickleball is so fun. And then the seminar, we're splitting it up over 2 days. So half the day is going to be pickleball. And by the way, the two instructors that are coming for this, the two main instructors, we may have some more, but these two main instructors, Tim Finger and Rick Lamson, these two guys are absolutely amazing. Tim was the #1 rated pickleball player in the United States for 3 years. And Rick has taught pickleball at Southern Utah University for a long time. The two of them together wrote a book called The Pickleball Bible. So these guys really know what they're doing. And they're my teachers. And they've been teaching me and my wife for about 6 months now. And I'm telling you, these guys are absolutely amazing. They're going to be there. So let's see who else is here. Natalie says, hey, Dr. Brad, greetings from Thomasville, Georgia. Hi, Natalie. And let's see, Braun says, love the emotion code. Thank you, Braun. And Martha says, ditto with Vanessa's question. Okay, so hopefully I've answered that one. By the way, this is live streaming right now to YouTube, where it will be, it'll live as a recording. So you can always go there and look it up. And of course on Facebook and so on. So let's see here. Jose says, what is pickleball? Well, pickleball is, it's a good question. Pickleball is, it's a game that's played on kind of a modified tennis court that's a little smaller than a tennis court, with a round ball that's like a wiffle ball. So it's a round, usually yellow plastic ball with lots of holes in it. And you play it with not a racket like a tennis racket, but with a paddle, okay? So it's kind of like, if you can imagine playing ping pong on a full size sort of ping pong table with other people and with a ball about this big, that's what it's like. It's really amazing. Martha says, hi there. Hello, Martha. And Wada says, hi, doctor. Hello to you, back to you. And Lori from Germany, hi to you. And Robin says, hey, back at you. And Judith says, hello. Hi, Judith. And Sharon says, hi from a cold, windly Scotland. Cold and windy, believe it. Hi, Sharon. And Husne says, yes. Oh, really? I got her name right. Fantastic. Thank you. So here's a question from Anna. Or Anna. She says, why do we swipe down the governing meridian? Does the direction matter? Lately, when I swipe down, I get a feeling like I am erasing the imbalance or trapped emotion. Well, here's how this works, okay? Remember that when you're doing this kind of work, it's mainly about intention, okay? But there are sometimes when it does seem to matter a little bit more than others. During the years that I was in practice at developing this work, I would ask my patients' subconscious minds to release a trapped emotion if I should swipe down or up. And I consistently got that I should swipe down, okay? So, but again, the most important thing I think really is the intention of what it is you're trying to do. And by the way, you might not have ever thought of this, some of you, but what if you're in a situation where maybe you can't swipe Maybe you're working on yourself. Maybe you're in a crowded place, and maybe you just kind of want to be discreet. What can you do? Well, you can kind of slowly do this, right? Like you're just thinking. But what if it's an inherited emotion? Then you're doing this, over and over and over. People might notice and think that you're a weirdo. So what can you do? Well, one of the things that you can do is you can use other places in the body where the governing meridian, remember that meridian that starts at the tailbone and goes straight up over the top of the head to the inside of the upper lip. That meridian is duplicated in other places in the body. So check this out. In Korean hand acupuncture, for example, the thumb and the little finger represent and are analogous to the legs. So if they want to treat one of your legs, they can put needles into your little finger, right? The whole entire body is represented in the hand as what's called a homunculus, or I don't know. It's a kind of like a 3D sort of simulus, or I don't know what you'd even call it. It's like a simulation or something of the body. So anyway, you've got an arm here and an arm here, and then the middle finger represents the head and the neck. So what you can do, if you want to be more discreet, you can just swipe a few times down the back of your middle finger, okay? And it's the same thing as going over the meridian, same thing. Now, in the same way, if you look at my ear, okay, the ear looks, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but the ear looks like an upside down fetus, right, at a certain stage of development. And so here we have the head and the neck, right? Here's the spine, and then, the legs and so on, going all the way down. And you can look at pictures of this online. Just search for Google for ear fetus, and you'll probably get something that looks like it. Anyway, what you can do is you can go down like this, okay? Straight up, and you're going down the governing meridian right there, okay? It's the same kind of thing. You can also do it in your mind. Let's say you're working on yourself, and I do this periodically. If I'm working on myself, I have some imbalance I need to release, and maybe I'm riding my bike, or maybe I'm doing something, I'm busy, I can just imagine that I'm swiping over my head, and it has the same effect. So hopefully that helps. All right, let's see. Teresa says, I need to heal. Well, yes, there's lots of healing that needs to take place in the world. And let me see here. It sounds like you've got some healing to take place too. Luckily, these tools that we can use to heal ourselves and each other are available now, the emotion code and the body code. So Ingrid says, hello, Dr. Brad, Discover Healing Team and everyone. Good evening from France. Hello, Ingrid. And Marta says, hi, Dr. Brad, I've been using the test for months as well as the emotion code and body code. Suddenly my body stopped allowing releasing emotions. And now the muscle test doesn't work. What do you think this could be? Thanks so much. Well, yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I think that sometimes what happens is we can get to a point where if you've released a lot, sometimes your body may need to do some processing. And so that can happen. You might just be in a little processing period there. And if it doesn't go away pretty soon, then what you might want to do is you might want to actually get a session from somebody else that can tune in and ask questions and see if there's something else that needs to be worked on. Teresa says, I've been a fan for many, many years. Awesome. Thank you, Teresa. And Robin says, oh, wow, it worked. First time in 1.5 years. Okay. Cool. That was the muscle test, I guess. Mary Ellen says, hello, Dr. Nelson. Hello, Mary Ellen. And Debbie says, how can I release emotions from lungs and diaphragm? Well, how could you do that? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Let me teach you a couple things about how the body works, right? If you're concerned about your lungs, your diaphragm, one of the things that you can do to tune into them, and you can find out how well they're working in a sense, you can just simply ask, is your lung happy? Is your left lung happy? Is your right lung happy? Or is my diaphragm happy? Questions like that. Because you see, the way that it works is, and here's my conceptualization of this. And, we have different beliefs and things, but here's how I look at it. I believe in God. I believe that God created everything to have joy in its own little existence, right? So the trees and the plants and the rocks and the grass and everything and the animals, they all have joy in their own little existence, right? We're designed to have joy in our own little existence as well, right? And that's our task here, is to learn how to have joy. And the problem in this world is that we have this, we can choose good or bad, and we're constantly being drawn by one or the other. And our task here is to learn how to make the good choices so that we can have the fullness of joy that we're capable of having. Well, in our bodies, we have all these organs and glands and muscles and other tissues. And what you can do, see, they're designed to also have joy in their own little existence, is how I look at it. And what you can do is you can ask an organ or a gland or any part of the body if it is happy, and it will tell you. And that's initially how the body code started kind of coming together, because I knew that in ancient Chinese medicine, they looked at the organs and the glands in the body as officials in the kingdom of the body. And all these organs and glands had all these interrelationships going on, and some were subservient to others and beholden to others. And so if you think of it this way, imagine that everything is intelligent, and those organs and those glands, for example, in your body, they're also intelligent in and of themselves to a degree. You can ask them, hey, are you happy or not? And so in a case like this, Debbie, what you could do is you could just ask, okay, is my right lung happy? Maybe it is. Is my left lung happy? Maybe it's not. If it's not happy, then you can figure out the reasons why. Okay. And it's don't overthink it. It's really simple. Remember that the subconscious mind is a computer. It's like Google. So just ask any question that you want. You're not going to break anything. So for example, let's say that your left lung comes back and it says, no, I'm not happy. Then you could ask, if you're just using the emotion code, you could ask, do you have a trapped emotion that I can release that will help you to be happy? And you'll probably get a yes. And if you have the body code, then of course you can dig deeper and look at other things. But that's what I would do. So good luck with that, okay? And Teresa, I guess, is saying hi from Mexico. Hi, Teresa. And Christy is in southern Idaho, of all places. Hello, Christy. I went to school in southern Idaho at a place called Rick's College many years ago. And Kimberly says, hello from New York. My kids are even super into the emotion code, and they're 13 and 5. Awesome. That's so great. You know, Kimberly, I bet your kids are picking it up really fast. I mean, kids, they haven't been around long enough to learn about all the things that they shouldn't be able to do, right? So, all right, Amy says, what happens after a session? Do you feel any different? Well, you know, you may or you may not. I remember the first time I had a trapped emotion released, I didn't really notice anything at all at the time. And then the next morning, I'm driving to work and I'm crying. I've got tears coming down and I'm thinking, I'm losing my mind. And so I was processing, right? Now, sometimes when you release a trapped emotion, the results are immediate. And that's always really fun, right? And those of you that are doing this, you know how fun that is, right? But sometimes it takes time for results to happen. And so one of the things that I try to tell everybody is, when you're using the body code, you're using the emotion code, you're releasing imbalances. Every imbalance that you release is bringing you a little bit closer to the result that you want, which is having no imbalances if possible, which it is possible, or having released enough imbalances to where whatever symptom it is that's been really bothering you will go away. But you want to keep at it. You want to keep releasing imbalances and get rid of all of them that you possibly can, because that's the secret to having a really healthy immune system and living as long as you can possibly live. And we don't even know how long that is yet. So, all right, so let's take a look at this from Misha. Misha, hello, says, what can I do when an issue just won't move? Like after 20 sessions, it's still the same. All right. So, so let me give you a little hint about this. Sometimes what happens is, with the emotion code and the body code as well, sometimes we end up knocking at the front door, okay? Let's imagine that you're going over to a friend's house and your friend is watching TV somewhere in the house, and you keep knocking on the front door and knocking on the front door, nobody's answering. Well, maybe your friend is watching TV, and maybe he's at the other end of the house. So maybe you go around to the other end of the house and you knock on the back door, and suddenly your friend opens the door because, that door was closer to where they were. It's the same kind of thing with energy work. All right. Sometimes we get stuck knocking on the front door, and we keep knocking and knocking. And what we're doing is we're saying, is there a trapped emotion I can release that will fix this issue or help, or that's causing this issue or whatever. And maybe things aren't shifting. So there's a technique in Chinese medicine. It's called surrounding the dragon. And so here's how this works. Let's say, for example, that I've got a shoulder problem and I come to see you, and you're an acupuncturist, and you're trying different needles in different places. It's not really helping. Well, this surrounding the dragon method is it's kind of like a Hail Mary pass. It's sort of a last resort sometimes. What they'll do is they'll put needles all the way around the problem. They're surrounding the dragon being, the pain or whatever the problem is. And a lot of the time they'll hit it right, and that will help. So in energy medicine, what you want to do is you want to keep that in mind, because sometimes we're not asking the right question. So for example, let's say that I'm working on you, and you've got a problem. Maybe you have a problem with money. Okay. Maybe you're not okay with money for some reason. And we keep trying to knock on the front door and release things that are making you not okay to have money. And maybe we've cleared all those and you're still not okay with it. Well, we might want to think about going around the back. And what might we ask? Well, there's no hard and fast list of questions, but you can just think about what you might ask. Like, for example, you might ask, well, is it safe for you to have a lot of money? And a question like that. Or will people, do you feel like, will people still love you if you have a lot of money? Or if you have a lot of money, will you make it to heaven or whatever? There are questions you can ask that are kind of a little bit outside the normal scope. And if you're prayerful and you allow your intuition, to speak to you, sometimes you need to just calm down, slow down for a minute, and let your intuition talk to you. And a lot of the time, you'll hear those little whispers about what a good thing might be to ask next. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Jody says, is the unconscious level the highest level to find answers, or is there a larger infinity level? Well, here's what I like to do, okay? I like to hedge my bets because think about this. If you're working on someone else and you're just working on their subconscious mind is an intelligence, right? It is an intelligence that you can ask questions of and you can get answers from. However, there is also the infinite intelligence, right? There's God, creator, source energy, however you might refer to it. That energy, that power that created everything, that holds all the worlds in their orbits. What I like to do before I start working on somebody is I like to just take a moment and acknowledge that a higher power exists higher than me, okay? And I like to just ask for help. And we all believe different things, and that's fine. But I think that as long as it's coming from your heart, right? All you have to do is just think about, however you might think of a higher power or the universe or whatever, and just ask for help. Help. I need help. Because we all need help, right? We all need all the help I think that we can get. I know that I do. So I like to hedge my bets, Jody, by kind of opening up both of those channels in a sense. So if I'm working on you, before I do work on you, I ask for that help. And I want to make sure I've got that connection from that higher power, because those answers then are much more likely to come, right? And And I'll share with you a story that was told to me by my former assistant, who's now one of our staff practitioners full-time. That's Connie Barton. And she told me that one day a friend of hers came to visit her from Chicago, where she used to live. And this friend of hers, she'd known all of her life. And this friend had always had this ability to see spirits. And some people have that ability, right? And so her friend comes to visit her, and Connie has some sessions to do. And so she says, listen, why don't you read a book or something, and I'll be back with you in an hour and a half or something, and we'll go. And her friend said, well, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just sit in the corner and see what you're doing. And so Connie said, all right, fine. So her friend sat in the corner, and Connie did her sessions. And when she was done, her friend said, listen, Connie, she said, I don't know, I'm not sure if you know what's going on here. She said, when you went to work on that first person and you paused and you had that moment of silence and you were actually just saying a silent prayer for that person, I saw spirits come in and stand behind you. And they were intently focused on helping you to help that person that you're working on. And she said, when you were done with that person, those spirits left. When you offered that next moment of silence / prayer for the next person, a different group came in. And she said that I think once it was 4 people, and sometimes it was just a couple, but they were always connected in some way to the person that you were trying to work on. Now think about this. I really believe that this phenomenon happens when we work with people, especially when we take that moment and we ask for help, because when we ask for help, it opens that channel. And then those angels that are connected to that person, they can come and stand behind us and whisper to us. And those little intuitions that we get, if you do this for very long, you'll have that happen. Suddenly it's like, oh, a thought will come into your mind, right? That, I think, usually is those angels that are there kind of whispering things. He needs this, or you should check this for her, right? And it's a really cool thing, isn't it? Really, really cool. So when you take that moment and you ask for help, you're opening that channel so that so those angels can come and they can speak to you. And usually we miss it when they speak to us, because they speak to us in the form of little thoughts or ideas or impressions that oftentimes we think are just, coming out of our own mind, but a lot of the time they're not. So anyway, let's see. Thanks, Jody. Braun says, would this be offered virtually as well? Obviously not with the ball games. I don't believe we're going to be live streaming this one. I don't think we will be, but good question. But come if you can. All right, let's see. So Husni says, do you have online workshops for those of us who can't travel, even within our own state? Well, we have, of course, we have the emotion code certification program. We have body code certification. Those programs are available. This last seminar that we did in Dallas, we also did on Zoom, and that was the first hybrid event that we've ever done. And that was really a lot of fun. It was really cool. Some of you might have been on that, and will know. We had a great time there. Paul says, hello from France. Hello, Paul. And Rachel says, I have a question about the sway test. I've done it before. Is that the same as the finger question, or the testing with the fingers? And the answer is yes. So there are a number of different ways of getting answers from the subconscious mind. And one of those is the sway test, right? Where you stand and your body will tend to, if you're holding thoughts of positivity or congruency or positivity, the body will tend to sway forward. On the other hand, if you're holding thoughts of negativity or falsehood or incongruency, the body will tend to sway backward, right? And that's the same exact thing as muscle testing. If you're holding thoughts of positivity or congruency, et cetera, you'll have strong muscle tests, right? But on the other hand, if you're holding thoughts of negativity or falsehood or incongruency, the tests will be weak, whatever the tests are. Yeah, there we go. Yep, the sway exercise. Yeah, we call it the sway test. It's all the same thing, right? All right, so let's see here. So Chrissy says, I struggle with finding the best way for me to muscle test myself. Well, yeah, the best thing to do there is just maybe look at the emotion code book, try those again. Remember, back off on the amount of force you're using and allow the test to take place somewhat out of your focus, okay? and you should have better results. And what to do is just pick one that seems to work maybe a little better than the other ones. Pick one method and then stick with that. And what I did when I was learning, and listen, I know how it is. When I was first learning the self-muscle testing, I had learned it from my brother, Dr. Bruce Nelson. And at first I thought, man, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this. This seems really subjective, right? Is it me doing this, or is it really my subconscious mind? And that's okay, because as you continue to do it, you'll get it dialed in. And what I did is 100 times a day, I would just repeat the words, yes and no, yes, no. And I would try to get a test for those. And it doesn't take long to repeat yes and no 100 times a day. I thought if I do this 100 times a day, I should get it dialed in. And it worked. It took me about a week and a half, and it was working really, really well. And it's one of the things that you just continue to get better and better at as time goes on. All right. So Christina Maria says, I love the emotion code. Thank you for the fantastic method. Blessings from Sweden. Yes. And we just got, you know what? I should grab a copy of the book in Swedish. We just got a copy of it. Actually, I think it's up on my wall. Yeah. It's the one in yellow right at the top, right there, I think. Let me check. So it's available in Sweden now. So that's great, Christina Maria. Thank you. So fun. All right, let's see. Nancy, can you give us a timeline for the belief code? I'm chomping at the bit to take it. Yes. What we're doing right now is we're just finishing. Well, let me slow down. We're finishing up some other things, and then we're jumping right into belief code. So we're hoping to have it done. If all goes well, it'll be sometime early this coming year, hopefully end of, first quarter, maybe into the second quarter. Okay. So we're really excited also about getting that out. So Pamela says, hi from sunny California. Hi, or no, sorry, Pamelia. Hi, back to you. And Rachel says the sway test is not the same as the finger test. Yeah. All the testing is the same. So think about this. The sway test, swaying backward or forward, the hand solo test like this, the ring in ring test, or let's see, this is the hole in one test. That's the same, right? Strong for yes, weak for no. The ring in ring test, strong for yes, weaker for no, right? The pendulum test, if you're holding a pendulum, it will usually go it depends for different people, but you can try this. For me, it goes clockwise in a circle for yes, counterclockwise for no. Okay. And that's the same thing too, right? If you have a device like a bobber, for me, the bobber will go straight up and down for yes. It'll go sideways for no. So all of these dowsing devices that have been around forever, they are simply picking up the changes in the energy field of the body. That's all that they're doing. The most sensitive testing device in the world is the human body. Okay. So these answers that we're picking up, with muscle testing, it's nice if you can use muscle testing and you learn how to use it, because you don't have to have any kind of a device. But if you're having a hard time with that, you can certainly use a pendulum or a bobber or anything you want. There's lots of different methods in dowsing. A few years ago, I was invited to be the keynote speaker at the American Society of Dowsers, which met in Vermont. And beautiful, Vermont is absolutely gorgeous. And we went there and had a great time. And it was fun because I'd been teaching muscle testing to get answers for all these years. And now here I am at this big event with all these people, hundreds and hundreds of people from all over the world. And they're using devices like pendulums and bobbers and L rods and things to get answers from the subconscious mind. But it's the same thing. It all works the same way, really. So Philip says, hi from New Zealand. Hello to you down there. And Martha has a question, says, what prevents people from having success in healing? Well, it's a process. I think one word here is just imbalances. It's the imbalances that we suffer from that interfere with our ability to really create the life we want in this world. the amount of love we have, the amount of abundance, like financially that we have, the amount of health we have. It's all kind of controlled really by the imbalances that are going on inside of us. Trapped emotions are a huge source of imbalance. Number one, that's why I wrote the emotion code book first. But then of course, in the body code, there are lots of other kinds of imbalances, right? So using the body code, you can find and get rid of those as well. So Regina says, hello from Hungary. Hello back to you. And of course, we're hoping to have the book out soon in Hungarian. And Mary says, hello from Kalispell. Oh, Kalispell up in Montana, beautiful spot. Know it well. Alexandra says, I swipe in my mind. Good for you. You can do that. And that works, huh? And Kimberly says, just hands over magnets now. Well, let me explain this. So I know what Kimberly's getting at. When I was first developing this work, I was using magnets that were fairly expensive magnets that were designed really for helping the body and healing the body. And they were made by the big Japanese company called Nikken, Nikken. And so I thought that you had to use those magnets to be able to release trapped emotions and do other things. And when I was writing the emotion code book back in about 2006, I realized, we've never really tested any other magnets, because I was thinking, okay, people are going to buy this book, The Emotion Code, for $20. And then I'm going to have to tell them, you need to go spend $90 for a magnet to be able to do this. And I thought, gee, that doesn't seem quite right. So I started testing magnets, and I started testing all kinds of magnets, very powerful magnets, weak magnets, different polarities of magnets. And what I found was that they all seemed to work just fine. In fact, we use we sell this little device, I guess you could call it a device, at our store in Discover Healing. What is this? It's just a refrigerator magnet, okay? And it has the chart of emotions on it, but you don't need one of these to do this work. It's just a refrigerator magnet. So you could use a magnet from your plumber, or like I've said before many times, if you get a Hello Kitty magnet works fine. Any kind of a magnet works fine. And if you don't have a magnet, you can just use your hand, okay? Now, if I have a magnet, I'll probably use it. It just depends, but you don't have to have a magnet. Your hand is also magnetic, and so it works just as well. Good questions, though. Yeah, these are great. So Selena from Oregon, hello to you. And Rachel says, is your work the same as acupuncture? Well, no. Acupuncture is where they'll put needles into the meridians. We do touch on the meridians. In fact, let me show you here really quickly if I can. Let's see. Give me just 1 second here. And I'll bring up the body code for you guys so you can see it. If I can do that. Hold on. Wrong kind of browser. While we're waiting for that, remember that we have this event coming up in, here we go, in Las Vegas, November 19th and 20th, Emotion Code Seminar and Pickleball, okay? So if you want to brush up on your pickleball game, or if you want to learn pickleball for the first time, come. Maybe we'll end up playing a game together or something. And we're also going to be teaching the Emotion Code. I'll be there. And my wife will be there with me, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You can go to discoverhealing.com/events to sign up for that. All right, so let me see if I can share this with you guys. Here we go, window or screen. And I think this is it right here. Yep, here we go. All right, so here's the Emotion Code chart, okay? Or sorry, this is the body code. This is the body code. And so let's see. Someone was asking me, hold on a minute. Oh man, I know I'm going to run out of time here. Well, we're going to have to do another one of these. But somebody was asking me if the work that we do is the same as acupuncture, and it's not. But just so you know, the subconscious mind needs an interface to be able to really get its information out to you. That's what the body code is. It's an interface for the subconscious mind. And is it possible that you might run into a problem with a meridian Is that possible? Let's see, I'm in the wrong area here. Nope. Where in the world? So if you're looking for something, sometimes even I get lost, you can look for, let's see. Here we go. No, that's not it either. Acupuncture. Let's look for, so you can find anything in here. Let's look for main meridian. Here we go. So here's the meridians in the body. They're actually under misalignment. They're also listed somewhere else. But you can find meridians here and you can fix these. In fact, let me tell you something, just to give you an idea. My wife had pain in a tooth right here. And it had been bothering her for a while. And I had looked at different things to try to fix it, and I was kind of coming up blank. So finally, what we did is we went to that specific tooth, and I'll show you how we did it in the skeleton, just to give you an idea how much you can drill down into things. We went down into the right lower teeth, and it was that one right there. Yep, tooth number 29. So we knew which tooth it was, so we brought up the page on it. And what we did is we looked at the meridian that's connected to it and asked if it was happy, and it was not. And so we tested to see why that meridian wasn't happy. And what we found was, that she had a trapped emotion that was inherited, that she'd gotten from her mother, that went back 44 generations. Now, that's the furthest back I've ever seen one of these go. An inherited emotion, 44 generations back. And I don't remember what the emotion was, but it was something like panic or fear, something like that. And we cleared that out, and immediately that tooth, for all practical purposes, stopped hurting. It went from about, I think it was about an 8, and it went down to about a 0.5, just immediately, see? So you can find things like that otherwise you'd never be able to find. All right, so let's see here. So many questions. Wow, we're gonna have to do this again. Let's see. All right, I'm looking through here. Okay, so here's a question. Can you give us a timeline? Oh, I guess I talked about this already. We're hoping sometime early next year. Yes, and let's see here. Okay, Arthur says, hello, Doc. I'm certified since you've done a session with my back last year on Facebook. I am doing emotion yoga with some children, and this is crazy to see how it works. It really works. A big thank you from Switzerland, the French part. Oh, man, fantastic. Thank you, Arthur. That's so cool. Well, it does work, and that is what's so powerful about this, and why it's going to change the world. It has to. The world needs to change. So let's take a look at this next one. Here's a question from Chrissy Rose. She says, I'm about halfway through the certification training, but I've listened to or read the book half a dozen times. If I'm releasing a trapped emotion, for instance, panic from an accident, but there are many other trapped emotions revolving around that, can panic come up in the same session because it might be related to something else? And the answer is absolutely, it could, sure. Like the crash or the pain, etc. So panic would occur twice, or it could occur twice, and need to be released twice for that one incident. Yes, absolutely. I know if you get rid of the one trapped emotion, it's, let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so the answer is yes. See, here's the thing, okay? Every trapped emotion contains in it, you can think of it as being almost like, well, remember, it's like a little cloud of energy, but it's like a hologram, and it contains a lot of information. Think about a hologram. You know, if, and a hologram that typically, maybe some of you have seen this kind of thing where they'll make a hologram, and maybe it's a picture of Abraham Lincoln, or maybe it's you or some important person or whatever. And they print this, it's created maybe in a piece of glass. Well, what's weird about that is if you shatter that glass, every little fragment of glass will contain the full picture, right, of Abraham Lincoln or you or whoever. That's a hologram. And so a trapped emotion is a ball of energy that's kind of like a hologram, and it contains information somehow about who was involved and when this occurred and exactly what was going on in your body and everything else. This is one of the reasons, you see, why we really don't feel like it's generally possible to release a bunch of trapped emotions at one time, because they're all very unique and very specific. And so what we do is we release them one at a time. And that's how we get the best results. Okay. That's what we're after. So great question though, Chrissy. All right, let's see here. All right. Husband says, are you doing any private sessions? I have severe back pain that's progressively gotten worse. I do have physical deviation due to a fall in my earlier years, but I do feel there are stored traumas and I feel I can heal it, but tried on my own and it hasn't worked. Well, here's the thing. If you've tried on your own and you're not getting anywhere, what you want to do is you want to find somebody else that can help you and work with you. Now, you can go on Facebook, and you're probably on there. It looks like you are on there. That's where your message, that's where your comment came from. I'm getting comments from YouTube and Facebook and different places. So you can post on Facebook and ask if somebody might be willing to help you, and you can make a connection that way. Or if you know somebody that's already doing it, you can work with them. I have always said that we can clear 80 to 90% of our own imbalances, but that last 10 or 20%, we're going to need help for. And that's, I believe, just how it is. Okay. So good luck with that. And I'm going to be trying to do more of these live events and things, because we really need to get things going and get the word out to the world about this. So it's possible you might get on one of those, but chances probably aren't that good considering how many people there are. Darren says, please tell me again about how to check on your immune system. Okay. And what to say while you swipe to get it to a higher percentage. Also how to install the shield of protection and what to say while you swipe. Okay. So two different things. And let me address the first one. All right. So one day when I was in my practice years ago, a patient came in, and I used to work a lot with people who were suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia, of course, is where you get this systemic pain, usually all over the body, and there's no known cause and no known treatment and so on. And chronic fatigue, of course, is chronic fatigue. This patient came in and she had both chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And she looked perfectly normal, right? And I thought about that, and I thought about how people, and those of you that have suffered with either one of these, people will often, because you look normal, you don't look sick, people will often say, I think if you just would exercise more, if you get a job, I think you'll feel better. And so I'm doing this exam on this patient, and I'm thinking, she looks healthy, but obviously she's not. And I thought to myself, I wish I knew how well her immune system was actually working. Because if I had that, if I knew how well it's really working, that would give me a really good, barometer of how healthy or sick she really is. And this little voice said, well, why don't you just ask? And I thought, oh, okay. So I did. And here's how you do this. It's really, really simple. What you do is, let's say, for example, Darren, if I were testing you, I could say, all right, how well is your immune system functioning on a scale of 0 to 100%? Is it functioning at 100% of its capacity? 100% is unusual. And so you'll get some kind of a number. Is your immune system functioning at better than 50%, better than 60, better than 70? Maybe is it functioning at 65% or 64 or 63? So you'll get a certain number, right? Now, to improve that number, what you want to do is you want to simply remove imbalances, okay? Trapped emotions, I've seen one trapped emotion bump up somebody's immune system function by 20 percentage points, okay? So that's all you do to improve it, is you release imbalances. That's all you need to do, okay? So now the other part of the question was the shield of protection. Okay, so basically what you can do is you can put a shield, an energy shield around yourself. And it's a shield that is created by your own intention. But your own intention is incredibly powerful. Your subconscious mind is incredibly powerful. So what I like to do with this one is I'll just while I'm swiping, I'll just say, I'm putting a shield around myself. It's made of pure energy. Why don't you guys just do this along with me? Okay. You ready? Here we go. I'm putting a shield around myself, and it consists of pure energy, and it blocks negative energies from me, but allows positive energies like love in. And it's permanent, and it covers me completely. So those are kind of the key points there, all right? And that can help. That's not going to block you from, at least from what I've seen, it doesn't seem to block you from like cell phone energy and things like that. But if you're working with somebody that maybe has some really negative energy that you're releasing, it can help just, for those to kind of bounce off. Good question though. Thanks, Darren. Kim says, hi from Northern Virginia. Hello, Kim. And Josh says, when is your new book coming out? It's going to come out in about a year. We've turned in the manuscript. This new book is about the body code. It's just kind of an overview to help people sort of understand what the body code is and how it works. But we're excited for that to come out, but it's going to be about a year. So probably last quarter, 2022, unfortunately. And Julie says, hello from Crete. Wow. I would love to be over in Crete, man. I don't know about the rest of you, but traveling is something that I have always loved to do and just haven't been doing it as much lately. But Crete's always been somewhere that I've loved. I've always thought about visiting. It'd be really cool. And Ireland is one of my favorite places. And there's Carolina from Ireland. Hello from Ireland. I have to tell you, my ancestors on my dad's side are from Ireland. And I had this experience I believe it was in 2008, right after the Emotion Code book came out in 2007. We went over there to Dublin, Ireland, and put on a seminar. And we didn't have a very big group. Usually going into a country like this cold, the book had just come out. I think we had probably 30 people, maybe 40 people at this seminar. But I will never forget this. At the end of this seminar, I could feel all of the spirits of these ancestors around me. And I felt like I was home. It was the craziest thing. And I mean, I started to cry. It was so powerful, so powerful. I didn't want to leave. It was amazing. So that really is where my roots are. So hello, Carolina. Thank you for joining us. And Micah has, hopefully I pronounced that right. Micah says, hi, Dr. Brad. My question is, do you have any experience with improving traits of autism? For example, inflexibility, overthinking, difficulties regulating emotions. Can these come from inherited emotions? Thanks and warm regards from Switzerland. Yes, we've had some really exciting things happen with autism. In fact, one of the most exciting things that we have seen is where autistic kids who will not make eye contact, when the heart wall is removed, these autistic kids always seem to have a heart wall, okay? Number one, when you clear that heart wall, those autistic children that won't make eye contact, that's often the first thing that they'll do is make eye contact. Isn't that cool? So that's one thing. Now, another thing that you can do, of course, using the body code, remember that a lot of these kids have toxins in their bodies, right? And so one of the things that you can do is if you're using the body code on a child that's autistic, you will probably eventually be taken into toxicity. You'll probably be taken into heavy metals. Very likely you'll end up in mercury, okay? You may find lead, other things. You may also find drugs, and you may be taken into this area as well, which shall remain unnamed for now. And the thing about it is all of these things are ultimately just what? They're ultimately just energy. And so remember that the subconscious mind of that autistic child is not damaged in any way. That subconscious mind works perfectly. Okay? It is indestructible. And so you can access that subconscious mind of that autistic child, and you can ask, what do we need to do? What is it that you need? What can we do? What can we release from you? What, is there something that you need to function better? And there may be, you may find that there's a nutritional need, and you can address that, right? You may find that there's something that's needed, and the body code can take you to all of those things, and you can figure those things out. And I'll tell you a story. My sister-in-law, Beth, lives down in Austin, Texas, and we were down there. We were down in Dallas with our body code seminar just recently, and a weekend before this last one. And we stayed with my sister-in-law, and I'm reminded of what happened with her about 16 or so years ago. She brought her son in for a well baby checkup. He was about 18 months old, perfectly normal, absolutely perfect baby. And they wanted to catch him up on his vaccines, right? And so the nurse leaves the room to go get all these vaccines, and she hears this voice, this powerful voice, and it says, "Take your baby and get out. Take your baby and get out now." And she'd never heard a voice like that before. And she kind of panicked like a deer in the headlights and kind of froze and didn't know what to do. And then moments later, she hears this voice again, and but this time it's like right in her face. And it says, "Take your baby, get out of here, get out right now." And she doesn't know what to do. She just freezes. And then all of a sudden the nurse comes back in wheeling this cart full of all these vaccines. So she vaccinates, she's vaccinating the baby while Beth is standing there with tears streaming down her face. And that little baby Luke screamed for 24 hours straight and then was just gone. Autistic. And she started working with him. And it was a huge amount of work that she did, giving him, testing his body, giving him everything that he needed. It was like every hour of the day, she was giving him something and taking care of him and working with him. And he now is completely symptom-free. Completely. He was there, and he's my sister's, he's my nephew, I guess. And but he's completely normal. No residuals at all. But Beth, she said one time that the thing that seemed to help more than anything else in those early stages was when we used the body code on him and released some of those toxins from his body energetically. It's all energy. So anyway, hopefully that helps you. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Mandy. Hello, Mandy. Mandy says, after determining the column and the row, sometimes I overthink when I ask about each emotion. Can I instead ask, is it the first emotion listed? So sure, you can do that. So let's go to the emotion code chart. And so rather than asking, is it effort unreceived or heartache or insecurity or overjoy or vulnerability, could you ask, is it the first emotion or the second emotion or the third emotion? Yes, you could totally do that. Yeah, great question. Okay. All right. Kim says, how do I heal from gallbladder surgery from 6 years ago? Thank you. Well, a couple of things. Remember that when you have an organ removed, you can remove the physical organ, but you can't remove the ghost of the organ. That organ is still there, and it might still be unhappy. So what you can do is you can actually ask, is my gallbladder happy? Even though the physical gallbladder has been taken out and is long gone, right? You can still ask, is my gallbladder happy? If it's not, then figure out the reasons why. And it will probably just be some trapped emotions in there, okay? So let us know how that goes. Good question, right? And Melissa says, hi, Dr. Brad. Hello, Melissa. And Kristen says, hello from Louisiana. Hello back at you. And Chrissy says, what's the best way to come up with questions to ask yourself? Would you go through current issues you're having at the moment? Yeah, sure. You could, if you've got some kind of an issue, you can ask, well, If you're just using the emotion code, you could ask, do I have a trapped emotion that's contributing to this issue of mine? Maybe it's physical pain, or maybe migraines, or whatever it might be. If you're using the body code, then it opens up a lot more possibilities for you, right? So you can ask, is there an underlying reason why I'm having these migraine headaches, for example? And the subconscious mind might take you into misalignments, and it might take you into, maybe it might take you to the skull, maybe to a little bone in the skull, right? Could be any of these. But it may not be a bone at all. It could be something else. So remember, when you're using the body code, you don't really have to know anything about physiology. You don't have to know anything about anatomy. You don't have to know about anything really about healing, really. In fact, the less you know, the better. It's really true, because sometimes people get educated, and then they think that they think they know what the answer needs to be, see? But this is one of the reasons why really young kids can use the body code successfully, because they don't have any preconceived notions about anything. I think that's funny. So DM says, hello from Portland, Oregon. Hello back at you. And Larissa says, who is giving an answer behind the muscle test? I'm receiving a great supportive answers and managed to fix lots of health issues, but the answer is not always from the subconscious mind. Sometimes your answer is from the spirit. Yes, right, exactly. So remember, before you go to work on somebody, if you just take that moment and you ask for help from up above, pray if you're used to praying. I mean, to me, it's just what I do. I'll tell you what I do, and you guys can do it any way you want. We all believe different things, and that's totally fine. It's not a denominational thing, okay? But as a Christian, what I do is I believe we have a Father in heaven who loves us. And so what I'll say in my mind is, Father in heaven, please help me to help this person. Thanks for this opportunity. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. I like to close my prayers in the name of Jesus Christ. And amen just means so be it. But, that's how I do it. But you may want to just direct your thoughts to whatever higher power, or super consciousness or universe, whatever you want. And you might just silently have a feeling coming from your heart that, hey, I could use some help here. That is enough to open up those floodgates for you. And then those answers that come, see, just like Larissa says here, sometimes I hear answers from the spirit, right? Well, yeah, that's cool. We also call that intuition, right? When you get intuition and you suddenly know the answer, that's where that comes from. So here's one from Alexander. She says, some doctors found out that a virus never has been isolated. I'm assuming we're talking about that virus which shall not be named. What we call a virus is a part of protein that comes during a cell process and is never the cause of a sickness. What do you think about that? With love from Germany. Well, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? There's a lot of controversy about this, and it's very, very interesting. Let me tell you a story. One day, I had a patient that came in to see me who had, she said that she'd been diagnosed with Epstein-Barr virus. And so I started thinking about what I could do to help her. And I said this prayer, and I said, Father, if there's a better way to help her, help me to understand it. And boom, I got this answer that flooded into my being, and this understanding. And the understanding was that you can think of a virus as a little organism, like a little tiny, tiny machine, and that is how Western biology looks at it. But another way to look at it is that it's just pure energy. Pure energy, because when you get right down to it, everything is made out of energy, isn't it? And so I thought about that, and I thought, okay, well, that makes sense. So if you've got some kind of a viral infection going on, you can view that as a cloud of energy in the body, okay? And if you can wrap your mind around that idea, then it can free your mind to be able to work with that and manipulate that energy, just like you'd manipulate the energy of anything else, like a trapped emotion or something else. So I was able to help that woman, kind of conceptualizing her infection as pure energy. Well, a few months after that, I had another experience about this. One day, this woman comes in to see me, and she tells me that she has a chronic cough, and it's been going on for a month or so. Whenever she breathes deeply, she starts to cough uncontrollably. And so So I tested her and using the body code. And let's go ahead and here's where I was taken. I was taken into pathogens, into this one right here. And it was this one right there, okay? Common cold. And I thought, okay, it's a common cold. So I just kind of visualized it as an energy, right? And then just swiped a few times to release it from her body. And then I said, okay, why don't you try breathing deep now? Let's see how that is. And so she takes a deep breath, no cough at all. She can't believe it. And it's like a miracle. And she says, that's crazy. She said, I can breathe. It's gone. How'd you do that? And, so I kind of tried to explain it to her. Well, anyway, 10 minutes later, after I released this, we walked back. It was the very end of her treatment. We walked up to the front desk in my office. And after about 10 minutes of talking with her and so on, she left. And I went back into my treatment room. And as I walked through the doorway, I felt something enter my chest. Unmistakable. And I thought, oh no. And I took a deep breath. Guess what? I started coughing uncontrollably. Now, in Western medicine, that makes no sense at all, right? Because in Western medicine, we know a virus has to hijack the cellular machinery and start getting the cells to reproduce copies of itself and so on, right? But this was immediate. And I had the same exact symptoms that she had. So I checked myself, found the same exact thing. It was the common cold, just a common cold virus energy. And when I released it from her, it just kind of hung in the air there because I think I needed to be taught this lesson so that I could share it with you guys, right? That's why this happened. There's reasons for everything. And I cleared it for myself and it was fine. I could breathe, no problem. It was totally gone. But I learned from that, it really is true. Everything is energy. And the future, you see, is to recognize that fact, that everything is energy and that we can work on things as energies and so on. So great question though, Alexandra, thank you. So Linda has a question. She says, I did your certification years ago and love it, but I always had to do testing by the sway method. I never could get muscle testing down well. Do you have any techniques or suggestions? Yes, and I gave a couple of those in the beginning of this. So you can go back onto YouTube at our channel at Discover Healing and you can watch this. And I'll try to get somebody to go through and put the tags, at the timestamps where we're talking about certain things. But we did cover this already. So hopefully if you go back and watch that, I think that will help you. All right. Pina Dolce says, hey, from Switzerland. Pina, hello. And Purple Universe says, hello from France. Hello, Purple. And Melissa says, when will the belief code be out? And again, that's going to be sometime this coming year. Okay. Hopefully end of first quarter, but I think for sure by the end of the second quarter, sometime in there. Doug says, hello from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Hello. Probably getting kind of cold there now. Rocio says, what would you recommend for depression? Number one, heart wall. Okay. Get rid of that heart wall. And the worst cases of depression that I've ever seen in my life, I've always had a heart wall. And in fact, any serious cases of depression, there's always a heart wall there. And the worst cases that I've ever seen, where people had to decide every day if they were going to live one more day or take their life that day, I've seen those people turn completely around with that heart wall being removed. So that is the number one place to go. And Rosia says, beautiful work. Thank you. Yes, I just work here. It's not about me. It's just, I just work here, right? Nancy says, Melissa, I'm also looking forward to that. Cool. Arthur says, I have a lot of people feeling really hot in their head during a session. Well, that's interesting. I've had that happen too. Sometimes what happens is when you clear things, blood can literally start to flow again. In fact, I just was working on somebody the other day and that happened where something showed up. They had, what was it? Some kind of a misalignment going on in their neck. And it was due to a physical trauma energy. And I released that. And all of a sudden their face got really flushed and it was just blood all of a sudden flowing into those areas, which is cool, right? All right. Teresa says, hi, Dr. Brad. When using the body code, it leads me to belief code and requires me to be in contact with a practitioner for belief code work. If that is not doable at the time, is there something to do to deal with that in the moment? Well, yeah, I mean, you could ask the subconscious mind, is there something else we can do for right now, and see where the body takes you. You're obviously using the body code. And so that's awesome. Remember that anybody can use the body code. You don't have to be certified to use it. We want everybody in the world to be using it, right? If you're going to be using it and charging people for it, then we do want you to get certified. Anyway, yeah, awesome. Let's see. And I am just about out of time here. But Chrissy says, can I just work on my dead relatives and ancestors without working on myself first? I mean, can I just sit there and sit here and ask, are there any trapped emotions that I can release from my dead relatives that will help them out? Well, what I would do, what I would recommend, and we don't really teach this, but I'll tell you something, Chrissy. This is probably about 5 years ago now. I can't remember exactly. I actually heard a voice. It was audible in my head, I guess I'd say. And the voice said, the name of your next book should be Healing the Dead. And I thought, oh, I got the name of the book. That sounds really interesting. And we have a publisher, and they weren't quite so hot on it. So they wanted us to do the body code first. But this is going to be a book that we come out with. And it's about, of course, healing those ancestors that have gone on. So I don't really have time on the call to do this. But remember that when you release an inherited trapped emotion that you've gotten from mom or dad, and it could go back for generations. When you release that from yourself, or if you're working on somebody else and they've got an inherited trapped emotion and you release that from them, it's going to clear from that ancestral line, okay, that emotional energy, whether it's yours or theirs. That's one of the best ways right now to do work on those ancestors. But what you need to understand also, and it's kind of interesting, is if you've ever worked on somebody by proxy, they're physically not there with you, right? Maybe they're in Milwaukee, or maybe they're in Paris or Moscow, and yet you can still work on them. And what's really interesting, and I want you to think about this, is that these departed ancestors, there's really no difference, right? They're not there physically. It's kind of like they're in Milwaukee or some other place, right? Their physical body, is in the grave. And if they've been buried and dead for a couple hundred years, their bodies have probably just turned back to dust, right? However, that spirit intelligence that is within us is infinite, and it is eternal, and it is indestructible. And so one of the things that you could try to do, and again, we don't teach this officially, but it is something that you can try, because we've seen this happen. We have there are some stories in the new Emotion Code book, the hardcover, about this kind of thing, where, for example, one of our friends had a situation where she had created this. I think it was a Halloween or a Christmas thing on her mantle. I think it was a Christmas thing, and there was this piece that kept, this styrofoam thing that kept falling off. She kept putting it back and it kept falling off. And after it fell off about the fourth time, she said, okay, who's here? And it was her mother. And her mother had been dead for a number of years. And her mother had never wanted to get worked on, never wanted to have any emotional stuff released or anything while she was alive from her daughter. And so her daughter was kind of amused that her mom all of a sudden wanted her attention. And when she asked her what she needed, and I think she was getting the answers partly or probably all just through intuition, maybe a little bit through testing. Her mother wanted to get worked on. And so she said, okay. And she really was able to release some stuff, working on herself, basically acting as surrogate, right? Because her mom is right there in the room with her, although she's just a spirit, she can't see her. But when she was done, she asked her mom, she said, listen, why do you want me to work on you now when you never wanted me to work on you before? And her mom said, well, I can't progress as fast as I'd like to be able to, unless I get rid of some of this stuff. See, so interesting. So you can certainly try that. And let's see here. What time is it going to be? You know what? I can probably answer about one more question. So this is from Christian. Is it possible to have nanobots inside of us which can cause us problems and can't be destroyed using a magnet? Well, I would say the same thing. Now, nanotechnology is something that, it's going on. Believe me, I don't claim to know everything about it. However, let's assume that this is true. What are those nanobots made out of? Aren't they made out of energy, just like everything else? Just like a virus or, mercury in the body or vaccine toxicity or medication toxicity or anything else. It's all energy. So if you can wrap your mind around that idea, stop thinking of those things in terms of little machines. Instead, think of them as pure energy, like a little cloud of pure energy in the body. You can test to see where that energy is in the body. And then if you can wrap your mind around that idea, to the extent that you can wrap your mind around that idea, that whatever it is nothing really but pure energy, to that same extent, you'll be able to manipulate that and get that out of your body. Okay. So Mandy says, are there any physical actions we can take to increase our ability to practice the emotion code successfully? Like clearing the pineal gland, something else? Well, I'll tell you something. A lot of people feel like they can't really do this work successfully until they're totally cleaned out, cleared out, totally well themselves. And that's not true. The more you do this work, the more healed really you become because your vibration raises, I think. Are there certain things you can do to help you? Well, I think that, you could check your pineal gland. You could also just simply ask yourself, is there anything that I should do? Is there anything that would benefit me being able to do the emotion code more successfully? Is there anything, do I have any trapped emotions that need to be released that might interfere with that? And the subconscious will tell you. It's a computer, right? Just like Google. All right, let's see here. Michelle says, I'm doing my body code certification right now. Love it. I'm getting those thoughts and images now. Cool. So that intuition can just start to flow. Mina says, when I started using the emotion code, I felt the divine/God communicating with me and also my dead mom's soul. Cool. My dead mom told me of some things that would happen in the future. That future was a month ago and the prophecies didn't happen. I'm wondering now if any of these communications were real. Well, I don't know. I don't know. You'll have to figure that out yourself. I have no idea. But future things, I think, the future can change. One of the things we don't do is we never try to muscle test the future because, right, the future, like Yoda said, always cloudy the future is, and it's true. So I don't know about that one, but it's interesting. And Magdalena says, hi from Romania, one of my favorite places in the world. Oh, man. So you know what? Unfortunately, I have to go. I'm on a hard deadline here. But we'll come back and do this again, okay? What do you think? Should we do this again? Let me know what you think. You're okay. And as far as all these other questions here, gosh, let's see. There's so many questions coming in. Gosh, we got people from all over the world here. Thank you all so much for being on today. We'll post this on YouTube, and then we'll do another one, I promise, really soon, at least no later than next week, okay? So thank you all for being on, and I'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, God bless you, and keep up the good work, okay? Take care, and we'll see you.